Yo, today we're going to talk about why you're taking a risk by waiting to jump into the market, standing on the sidelines. Before we get into the topic, subscribe to our channel, like the video, turn bells on for notification, drop us a comment. We always appreciate y'all's support. Let's talk about the risk that we're taking by waiting. I know so many people, there's a lot of volatility in the markets. There's a lot of uncertainty. People are uncertain about their personal situation, about the overall economic conditions. And this uncertainty can paralyze us with fear and say, you know what, we're just going to wait till things get a little calmer, a little more certain and stay on the sidelines. For some people that might make sense. You know, as always, these things are unique to your exact situation. But here are some risks. If you are a ready, willing, and able buyer, here's why jumping in today might be a better idea than risking waiting. The first thing is that we are seeing that there's a bunch of pent-up demand. I can't tell you how many buyers that I have consultations with that are like, Brent, I'm ready to buy a house. I want to buy a house, but I'm gonna wait until something changes, whether that be interest rates, whether they see where the market is going, or all these different things. There are a bunch of buyers currently on the sidelines. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because if you are standing on the sideline, while the demand is very weak out here for these sellers, when the demand comes back, whatever you're waiting to happen, you and all of your friends that are standing on the sideline, when that thing happens, lower rates, price, certainty, lack of volatility, whatever your thing is, when you all rush back into the market, you have the potential of seeing what happened during COVID, when rates got really low, a bunch of people rushed to the market and prices got bid up. Whereas right now, if you're a buyer out in the marketplace, you're noticing that time on market is longer, sellers are having to be a little more flexible with some of their negotiations, and when you find yourself in a position where the market is not white hot and sellers are sitting on the market for 3-4 weeks, sometimes 3 or 4 months, depending on the situation, what you have an opportunity to find is a really motivated seller. Now, this does not mean that every seller is going to have to chop price, to cut off their knees to make this to make a sale happen. And it also doesn't mean for a buyer that every deal that's out on the market is a killer deal. But what it does mean is that there's opportunity to find deals. There are very few motivated sellers in a hot market. If you have 10 buyers showing up, writing you offers on the first weekend, it's probably unlikely that a seller is going to be concerned about, their ability to negotiate. But imagine this. Imagine you own a 2-bedroom condo in a complex here in Mission Valley. And imagine there's 200 units in the complex. And imagine 8 of them are for sale that are just like yours. And everybody's asking right around $600,000. If you're looking around and everyone's asking about $500,000 or $600,000 and everybody's been on the market for 20, 30, or 40 days, and you go to put your place on the market, you're going to think to yourself, how do I stand out? How am I going to compete? Now, if you're a seller that's super motivated and has to get out of this house right now, you lost your job, or you're changing your job, or the place just isn't a fit, or you have a offer on a new place accepted, whatever the case may be, there are various reasons why sellers, not all of them, but sellers in moments like this can be extremely motivated. And if I'm looking around and saying, wow, the 7 people I'm competing with have been on the market for months or weeks or however long, and the property isn't moving, I'm going to be nervous about what is it going to take for me to move mine. Maybe I'll try to get out ahead of the curve and lower the price, or accept a lower price, or friendlier terms, or whatever the case may be. The reason why it's great to do that now if you're a buyer is because you have a lot of leverage in negotiations that buyers frankly haven't had in a long time. And that power to negotiate could evaporate as quickly as the last market change happened. I mean, these things change so quickly that to pretend like we can time the market perfectly, I think is, let's use the word naive. I think it's naive to think that we can time the market perfectly. Now, again, good reasons to wait. I understand unique situations, but these things change quickly. And here's a good example of that. Rates came off their June peaks by about mid-August. There was a 2-week period where rates got down into roughly the low 5s. For context, right now we're at 7. And rates got roughly into the low 5s. And what happened when rates were in the low 5s? For that 2-week period, we got multiple offers, prices bid back up, and the market, the median price in San Diego actually went up from August to September because of a 2-week period where rates got low for whatever reason, whatever market powers decide that these things happen. So rates get low, and buyers on the sideline, they rush, and now all of a sudden properties are getting bid up. We had a couple listings on the market during that time where all of a sudden where listings have been, sitting for a little while, a little harder to sell, a little less leverage in negotiation. Now with these sellers that we have for the 2 weeks in August, boom, there are things flying off the shelf. We got 3 or 4 multiple offers and things getting bid back up. If you wait on the sidelines for rates to come back down, you're going to join the stampede and you're going to miss out on negotiating leverage and potentially getting a better deal. Here's the thing is when you buy a place at some price, the price is fixed. And it comes with an interest rate, but the interest rate is not fixed. You can change the interest rate. It's only going to do one of three things. It's going to go up, in which case, great, you got a rate that is now lower than the market rate. It's going to stay the same, okay, cool, no harm, no foul, or it's going to go down and you can refinance. Once the rates go down, there's going to be a stampede, this pent-up demand that's going to rush to the market, and now you're going to miss out on what is really good pricing. Whereas imagine if you were able to negotiate a great deal with the seller today and then refinance to a lower rate in the future. Now you get the best of both worlds, the low prices and the low rate, and better properties to choose from, and better terms to negotiate and things of this nature. Now, there are already signs of the economic slowdown, which I'm sure you've all heard in the news. If you look at manufacturing data and inflation, even though it's still coming in hot, it's not as hot as it was, and they're going to continue to crank up rates. You know, they're saying a recession is looming, things of this nature. As soon as the Fed sees that this is actually doing some damage and inflation's starting to come back towards their target, they will probably lower rates. They're raising rates to tame inflation, and once things slow down and, you know, we're in recession and things like that are happening and inflation starts to meet their target, the rates will come back down, and then all the people on the sideline with all the uncertainty and volatility, they will all rush into the real estate market and they will bid the properties back up. My argument is that, you know, a little contrarian view here is that, again, if it works for your unique situation, it makes sense for your long-term goals, get in a place now, get ahead of the stampede, let everybody else sit on the sideline, and go into the marketplace where there are so few buyers relative right now and negotiate yourself a heck of a deal, find a seller that's really motivated, and that way when the stampede comes, you ideally would ride that wave back up. The pro tip of the day is this: not every deal is going to be a great deal. Not every seller is going to be super motivated. Some properties, for whatever reason, are still going to get a level of activity that doesn't allow you to, you know, have a bunch of leverage negotiating with a seller. This doesn't mean like turn on the computer and pick any house you want and it means it's a good deal. No, but what it does mean is the environment is ripe for there to be sellers that are motivated. And if you as a buyer are ready, willing, and able and in the marketplace, seeing properties, knowing what you want, and you run into one of them, it could be very beneficial for you now to get ahead of the stampede that's for sure coming behind as soon as these rates get back down and affordability kind of gets back in line. So that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Thanks for checking in. As always, like, subscribe, drop comments. Appreciate your support.